Adyton Resources is funding its bigger prize with near-term cash flow. Its Fergusson Island project will bankroll Feni Island project, which sits roughly 150 kilometers from Newmont's Lihir mine, one of the largest gold mines in the world, with reserves of 15.8 million ounces at 2.41 grams per ton. So how similar is Feni and Lihir? Tim Crossley, he is managing director. Tim, welcome to Mining Stock Daily.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Michael.
Tim, you've been drilling since 2025 at Feni Island project on Papua New Guinea. Can you outline the similarities between Feni and Lihir?
Yeah, sure. Look, well, it obviously sits in the same, island chain. That island chain starts with a Simberi mine, which is a substantial operation and on resource in its own right, about 8 million ounces, and then continues southeast to Lihir, Tanga mine, and then Feni, and then you continue on to Bougainville and obviously the giant Panguna operation. So I guess building on that similarity, the key, which effectively sets the scene on the fundamentally the geological underpinnings or drivers of the system, it's the age of the mineralization the same, the age of the rocks is the same. It's the same style of mineralization. It's in a collapsed caldera, and it's although it's different to Simberi, but similar to Lihir, it's also hosted in quite a geothermally active environment. So, you put all those things together, similar style of mineralization, same age rocks, hosted in a geothermally active environment. It does set the scene of very, very similar opportunity. The one point of difference being that about 250,000 years ago, post-mineralization, this is Feni had a subsequent volcano, so some of our mineralization is undercover. And we fundamentally believe that's probably why a significant discovery hasn't been made yet, because you're kind of traditional old school methods of identifying and prospecting through ridge and spur sampling, rich soil samples, isn't really going to work when part of your ore body's undercover.
Now, you have an updated mineral resource estimate that you're expecting in early 2027. You were hoping to get it out early for Feni, but you were telling the same story that a lot of people are right now, that there's just backup with the assay labs. You did have a 2021 Feni resource, 1.46 million ounces at 0.7 grams per ton. Can you talk about what you're actually doing with this mineral resource estimate that's going to be different than 2021? How much in terms are you doing in terms of proving the resource? Also what you've done in terms of exploration?
Yeah, sure, Mike. I mean, there's kind of two key objectives of the current drill program. One is, we've obviously done some infill drilling to reconfirm some of the historical drilling, but also to enable a conversion of inferred to indicated. And, we're very positive about that with any of the twinned holes we've done, either returning better results or similar results. And then the second part or objective is to understand where the deeper high-grade zones that might be feeding the Kabang system, and where does the Kabang system go, because it's really only constrained by lack of drilling. So we're now drilling extensionally to the northeast, and we're very confident that we've got the structural maps a lot more accurate now, and we've identified the northern structural corridor. And we've been drilling that for the last sort of 3 or 4 months and still pending some assays. But some of our visuals and XRFs are showing very positive results around this northern extension. And if you looked at a map of Feni from our, on our website, for example, this is in the direction towards Dome and Saddle, where there is some old historic drilling which returns some very good grades. So there is a thesis there that perhaps this actually connects right through to there, yet to be proven by further drilling. So that's super exciting for us. That would add substantial ounces to the Feni resource if at all assays. And then the other part is to test the southern extension, and particularly the thesis that perhaps the Feni Kabang resource is being driven from an offset porphyry system under Dan Margall, which you'll also see on our whole of island maps. And that's also returning some very positive results around visuals and also from some of the more recent surface mapping. I think we've got a much better understanding of the structural controls there. But again, pending assays. So what I guess in summary, Mike, is, one, I think we'll definitely achieve our objectives of conversion of inferred to indicated of a material quantity. Two, I think we're very advanced in our understanding, or much more advanced in our understanding of the extensions to Kabang in the northeast direction towards Dome and Saddle, and in the southwest direction, heading towards Dan Margall and probably sort of southeast of Dan Margall, I should say.
When you're moving into indicated, are you looking also further ahead for further studies, advanced studies on Feni?
Yeah, look, I mean, if I think of a roadmap for Adyton, the current roadmap is the sprint to cash flow to get Wapolu up and running, and we're very confident about achieving that by Q4 this year. And then moving, which we already are, moving straight into permitting and landowner mapping and a consents for Gameta, with a targeted first production in Q1 2028. And then pending assays at Feni and a good conversion of inferred to indicated at Feni, I see no reason why we wouldn't maybe switch our efforts straight from Gameta once Gameta's mills up and running, and doing the same thing at Feni. So you're sort of looking at a roadmap of 3 mines in the next 3.5 years.
Have you done any metallurgical work on Feni? Now, Newmont Lihir uses a refractory autoclave circuit. You did mention in your project page that you both share geothermal energy sources, which Newmont has developed for doing the processing at Lihir. I believe that that type of rock can be an energy intensive process.
Yeah, look, I kind of have probably a different model to what Lihir did. I mean, I think fundamentally what's changed, and I suspect if Lihir had a market that we've got today, where you're seeing such a small discount for selling precious metals in concentrate versus doré, you wouldn't build an autoclave circuit in a remote island in PNG. I mean, I think it's a case of keep it simple. So our model would be a very simple process, mine, crush, grind, float, and sell a gold-rich and copper-rich concentrate into the refining market in Asia. We already know from our LOIs with Wapolu that you're now seeing the payabilities of sulfide-hosted cons, well north of 90%, whereas 5 years ago they might have been 80, low 80s. So there's not much of a discount for selling a concentrate, and I can only see that market improving with the shortage of sulfuric acid, because the world, parts of Asia and certainly parts of the world are pivoting from maybe traditional ways of getting sulfur out of oil and gas and other methods to actually extracting the sulfur out of sulfide-hosted precious metal concentrates and putting them into an acid plant. So the combination of the shortage of sulfuric acid in the world and the huge refining capacity in China has kind of led to a perfect storm for us, where we've got extremely strong demand for sulfide-hosted concentrates in our part of the world.
At the start of this, before we started this interview, we were talking about boats. You do have boat transport that's close to Feni?
Yeah, I mean, Feni, like the development of Feni, once you get through the exploration phase, would be a combination of I'm talking about access here, sorry, Michael, would be the refurbishment of the Babassi airstrip, which was built by SA when they did an exploration program in the 80s. That would be sort of for crew changes, and then we would support operations through large barges and then ship your concentrate out using a barge to ship transfer, which is very common, globally and particularly in our part of the world. So you bring your export vessel in to the island, anchor in an appropriate draft position, and then load your concentrate onto barges and then do a barge to ship transfer, which is actually very similar to what the Octetti mine does in PNG.
Let's talk about that Fergusson Island project. So that's your near-term production project, and that encompasses Gameta and Wapolu, which you have been mentioning. So in your early August news release, you updated some key activities underway. Phase 1 project plant modules, mining lease application. Can you talk about these dependencies as you kind of get towards production and what you're managing?
Yeah, sure. Look, we've received the environment permit, and we made an amendment to an exploration license to enable a bulk sample, including testing of the flow sheet. We saw one of the biggest risks at Wapolu, and we believe why Wapolu was shut down in the mid-90s was two factors really. The collapse in the gold price was a big contributor, but also they'd effectively built a processing circuit for an oxide ore body where the I guess the cutoff from oxide to sulfides was not well understood. So we're actually building fundamentally a sulfide recovery system, but we are also going to build a small scavenge oxide circuit as well. So in terms of where we're at, we've commenced construction for the bulk sample flow sheet. We're well into that, probably about 75% complete. And in terms of permitting, we really only have one outstanding permit, and that's the grant of the mining lease, and we're expecting that in September or early October.
Now, the financing arrangement is a joint venture, and that's with East Vision Investment Holdings. Can you talk about, and you've had recent announcements, indicated resources jumping 131% at Gameta, Wapolu resources more than doubling. Can you talk about what the financing is, and then also what potential upsides are from Adyton?
Yeah. So the Gameta and Wapolu projects are owned under a structure which sits under a 100% owned Singaporean subsidiary, which ultimately will be an incorporated JV between Adyton and EVIH. So currently the arrangements on financing is that EVIH, as part of their equity earn-in, are required to undertake all the preliminary permitting, drilling works, and include fund the Wapolu processing plant for a 300,000 ROM tonne a year plant, commission it, and get it operating at nameplate capacity, and that will be their final earn-in step to a 50% to create that 50/50 incorporated JV at the Singapore subsidiary company. So that's a standalone pillar in our structure. It doesn't affect Feni, which is owned under a different structure. So once EVIH achieve that milestone, the JV in a sense is consummated, and we move forward as joint ventures. And we, as a joint venture, we develop Gameta. But what we've also got in place with EVIH's parent company is a line of like a bridging loan, I guess you might want to call it, to fund the Gameta capex. Any of the shortfalls in the Gameta capex that we're not able to fund through our own cash flows, at an 8% interest rate, which effectively means that both those projects have a full financing solution to production.
Lastly, Tim, is it a copper story? Is it a gold story? Gold has been, gold is at a really nice leg up since hitting those lows last month. Also, copper has had its strengths for years right now. Looking ahead to these projects, where does Adyton sit?
Yeah, interesting question. I mean, so Wapolu, I'll just go through each of the projects one by one. Wapolu is fundamentally a gold project. Gameta has gold and silver. The silver credits are relatively small, but at sort of $50 or $60 an ounce, it becomes a little bit interesting, but it's fundamentally a gold project. And then Feni, still the dominant payable mineral at Feni is definitely gold, but we are seeing and have seen significant intercepts of copper. And I draw people's attention to ADK4, which was a hole we drilled in 2021, where we hit over 6 meters. I think it was 6.5 meters at 5.1% copper within an 85 meter, half percent copper, all coming with about 1 gram gold. So there's copper in that system. We saw a lot of copper in hole ADK3. In fact, that hole terminated in copper. I think the copper upside story is definitely not fully understood for Feni. And, pending, we've still got about 9,000 meters of assays pending, Michael. So, I think people need to watch as those get released, what they're going to tell us about the copper opportunity. The other thing I'll say is I'm actually on my way to Feni now with 5 geophysicists from AusTie, and we're about to embark on a 25 square kilometre ground geophysics program. It's a huge program. It'll cover a large portion of the island. And a lot of that is about understanding where or if there's a deep-seated offset porphyry to the system as a future upside drill target.
Tim Crossley, I appreciate that you're somehow being held down near your project just because of what's happening with the weather, but I do appreciate you making time for Mining Stock Daily.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.